right, welcome everybody to Dave Cooper Live, where today we are talking about big problems in housing and one possible solution. So, housing regulations, labor shortages, supply chain issues, affordability. Well, to help us through this, today we are welcoming Ritwik Pavan, CEO and founder of Krava, where they are accelerating the construction process with easy-to-assemble modules, and they aim to revolutionize the way people design and build their living spaces. Whether you're looking for a custom backyard experience, a revenue-generating accessory dwelling unit, aka ADU, or an affordable housing solution. Today, we're going to see how far $25,000 takes you in the home building process. But before we do that, we always have to thank our sponsors because we cannot deliver any of these innovative conversations without them. Forward Solutions Group is successfully driving companies to succeed where others have failed. Are you looking to start a factory? Optimize your existing factory, streamline your production, or take your team to the next level? Whatever your needs are, Forward has a solution for you. Reach out to Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. Howick Ltd. has a long history of innovation in cold form steel manufacturing and producing innovative precision roll forming technology for customers throughout the United States and the world. Check out their machine buyer's guide for off-site modular construction or fast build construction with light steel for framing. Go to their website, howickltd.com. Brought to you by Graitec, one of the largest Autodesk partners globally and software developer of the Powerpack, Advanced Design, Advanced Steel, and the StrucSoft product line. The complete solution to automate wood and light gauge steel framing, design, and documentation all the way out to CNC output, model, design, and manufacture with StrucSoft. Learn more at StrucSoftSolutions.com. All right. Again, thanks to all of our sponsors. We cannot do any of this without them. So go say hello to them and thank them for being part of everything we do here at Dave Cooper Live. All right. Without further ado, let's bring in Ritwik. Hey, Ritwik, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Yeah, great to have you on the show. I love it when young people are getting involved in this industry and really making big strides. So super excited to have you here. So the pleasure is really all of mine. So thank you for that. Before we hop into it, Ritwik, we like to know about who's on the show and where they come from. So with that said, we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Don't leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or we will have one of your family members on, and I'm sure it'll get ugly for you. So you better spill the beans. But anyhow, you got 2 minutes. Give us your elevator pitch, where you come from, what you do, and how you got to where you're at, and we'll get into it after that.
Awesome. Sounds good. My name is Ritwik. I was actually born in India, moved to the U.S. when I was 5, and since then lived in North Carolina, moved to Austin last year, really started my entrepreneurial journey more on the software world, building apps and designing software for other startups and companies, then evolved to building hardware and helping with government GovTech startup where we built patented cameras, went up on street poles and used computer vision and ML to collect real-time parking data and use that data to help cities with traffic congestion and urban planning. So parking being one of the biggest issues that cities face today. And then left that last year and took some time off and said, if there's an idea that excited me as much as Vade, my last startup, I would pursue it. And for me, that was affordable housing and just looking at the crisis that we face today. As a society, we've got a shortage of over 6 million homes now, and was looking at the solutions that existed and talking to several developers, construction folks, attended a few conferences, and felt that there were several solutions out there, but felt that we could provide some value and provide a positive sum for the community. So started Krava, and we've got an amazing team that has expertise around architects, engineers, designers, operational folks, and started this about a year ago with our long-term vision being able to enable homeowners to turn their unused space or their backyards into a revenue-generating asset And in the short term, we're focused on being able to provide backyard experiences using our Krava system, such as a home office, a yoga studio, a guest bedroom, or a gym.
So, when we look at this, your backgrounds and your team, I mean, how did you look at this from an assembly standpoint, right? Because that's what I really want to get into here. So an ADU is an ADU, right? They're out there, we're doing this. But at Krava, you guys looked at it a little bit differently and you designed it a little bit differently. Tell us a bit about your background there and how that came about, because I understand the affordability side, but you took it to another level.
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. And in terms of the means to which we wanted to be able to get these units out, we had three simple objectives. One objective was we wanted to make it easy to assemble. Two, we wanted to make it easy to transport. And then three, we wanted to make it easy to customize. And in order to meet these three principles, the hardest one being easy to scale, we wanted to think about this from a DFMA approach, meaning that we wanted to design for manufacturing and assembly. And the important part about this was essentially productizing the ADU and thinking of it as more of a product than a home, where we ended up creating standardized modules for the walls, the windows, the doors, the power module, everything around a home. First, we separated into several different components and projects, and then figured out how can we standardize this so one day, whether that's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, we are able to have an assembly line where homeowners can customize it however they want. Think Legos for living spaces. And we are able to use these standardized modules and create it in a way that they could still customize it, but we can also scale. And when it came to transporting, we wanted to make it as easy as possible to transport without having to worry about a wide load truck, without having to worry about cranes. So here you're able to see our home office unit that's 120 square feet.
Yeah, and I just want to give a little bit of insight to some of the things that you guys have here. So while they're talking, they understand what we're talking about. So I do think that, all of those points you hit on all need to be addressed. Where did you get the knowledge to understand that all that needed to be addressed?
A lot of knowledge comes in. I mean, I'm an outsider in the industry, which I know is sometimes looked down upon in old industries. And I believe for us, that's been a benefit. We came in very hungry to learn. And, over the past year, a lot of our time was taken in talking to folks like yourself, talking to folks in the space, other founders, and we wanted to learn what are the bottlenecks. I mean, modular itself is not a new concept. It's been around for a century. And, you look back into Sears, they were delivering kits back in the day. And you ask yourself, what changed since then to make it so that now we're in this housing crisis with over 6 million homes? And so a lot of it comes down to asking questions and trying to dig into why has this not been solved yet? And there are, common denominators with regulated industries being government. You can always blame government, but I do believe that the solution to solve the housing crisis will involve private markets.
Well, right. Will involve private markets. Now let's get into the prototyping of this. Walk us through your journey from the time you said, Shazam, I got this amazing idea. I don't have any money yet, or maybe I have my own money. I need to find some funding. I need to find a space. I need to find my team. I need to prototype this. And then, by God, we got to find somebody that's going to build them for us. Oh, but wait, we need to have a contract first so we can deliver units, right? I mean, all of that has happened for you. So walk us through this journey, because I think I'll give you an example. I was just at Harry Vine Homes here in Pittsburgh, right? He's doing his own small modular ADUs. Well, he bought a 1-bay building and he builds all of his stuff inside, but he's taken the modular approach, similar to what you did to prototype and do what you're doing. So walk me through how the journey began once you actually were able to sell somebody on the concept of this is what you want to do.
Sure. So as you mentioned, there's several moving parts here, and we faced significant challenges, specifically with the market. And we were very grateful to have strategic investors in the real estate space, developer, that believed in what we were doing. And so with their support, that was able to at least help us with being able to secure a space here in Austin where we were able to prototype out of, brought on a very talented team. Initially having a head of product that was an architect who was a modular architect in the space for over a decade, brought on a lead mechanical engineer that was able to productize the system that we were talking about, and then a head of design who was an industrial designer and then an operations lead that was focused on working with contractors initially to build. One of the key aspects that we were focused on initially was we don't necessarily want to go day one and say we're building to scale. We wanted to make sure that we spend enough time prototyping, thinking about the bottlenecks, whether that's, electrical having to be done on site, plumbing having to be done on site down the road. Those things that, oftentimes when you're just getting a home built, you don't think about as a homeowner maybe, but as a developer and a builder, you definitely need to think about all the intricacies, whether that's even insulation. So when we were building the first unit, we actually went with a traditional build where we wanted to learn how is traditional construction done and what are all the challenges that we're seeing today, whether it be contractors, whether it be costs going up, whether it be, the portability of the unit. And once we learned that, we spent a good bit of time just trying to understand how can we now break this entire unit down and make it in a way that is easy to assemble, easy to disassemble, easy to move. And over the past 5 months, that's exactly what we are working on. So the unit that you're seeing behind me that's completed, we went from start to finish in terms of the assembly of the unit in less than 12 hours.
In less than 12 hours, start to finish on the assembly of a unit. How many SKUs do you have in your unit? Can you say that, or is that proprietary?
We have several SKUs. I would say I wouldn't even be able to give you a number because it oftentimes changes. But what I can tell you is in our second iteration of the unit, we were able to cut it significantly.
Okay.
For the first unit, we wanted to over-engineer it, even something like our legs. We had built proprietary adjustable legs on the unit, which isn't shown in this specific image, but we made it so that every leg can handle over 20,000 pounds. So in the case that you don't have a concrete slab, we're still able to install. So we have a very messy Excel file with a lot of different SKUs and have been working to organize that. And over time, we have simplified it a good bit as well. So that has all been part of the process.
Well, and that's kind of part of scaling too, is really trying to get the most out of as little as you can. In other words, if you can reduce your SKUs, it makes manufacturing so much easier, right? Because then you can mass produce, and it's kind of like having the same models that can be used in different ways. So obviously, I have your website up here. I want people to understand who you are and what you're doing. And I think I want to touch base on all of these different points here. So let's talk about Streamline. Are these coming flat packed or are they coming as modules?
Correct. So both. So they come as flat packed modules. And so this includes the windows, the doors, all of the wall modules, the ceiling modules, the flooring. Everything is included on a truck where it's flat packed. And we've made it so that the heaviest component, especially in this last iteration, is less than 100 pounds, so that it can easily be lifted by 2 licensed contractors that can transport it without the need for a crane, without the need for any special tools. And so that has been a core part of making this streamlined.
Got it. So each of the components and parts were made to be easily handled on a job site by contractors. I love that, right? That's some detail that you need to think about when you're doing this type of work for sure. And easily assembly as well. Talk to me about like transportation on these. How far can you transport? You're going to be manufacturing in Colorado, right?
Yes. So we did our initial manufacturing and prototyping out of our facility here in Austin, and for the mass production, it'll be done in Colorado for the units, and with manufacturing partners that we've set in play. And in terms of the delivery, we have a few different logistics partners that are able to ship these units out for us. And when you look at the pricing between having to use a wide load trucks, we considered it. I mean, it's arguably easier to build an entire unit in-house and then just put it up on a truck and deliver it. But then you get the bottleneck of expensive delivery costs, anywhere from 10 grand to 50 grand, depending on the unit. And in a lot of neighborhoods or areas, you can't even transport it on a wide load. It's not going to fit, or they're not going to allow for a crane to go up and lift the unit over your house. So we wanted to consider all of that when delivering these units. And for us, even, when you look at from Austin to West Coast or East Coast, we're looking at roughly 2,500 to 3 grand as the maximum cost for delivering a unit.
2,500 to 3 grand. That's just shipping and delivery.
Correct. As a maximum.
As a maximum, as a maximum. So what's different about your product versus what you can buy off the shelf at like a Home Depot or an Amazon or IKEA? You know, they're all starting to get into this a little bit. Walk us through a little bit of what's different in your product.
Yeah, it's a question that we've been asked a lot, and I think it's a good question. And when you look at the Home Depot sheds, when you look at any of these other companies that are offering the sheds, of course, you can immediately come to the price point and say, "Oh, well, this is 15K, and this is substantially lower." Well, there's a few clauses there. They don't include the windows. They don't include any insulation. They essentially give you the bare bones skeleton of the unit, and then by that time, that once you've actually installed it, you still need to work with a general contractor to be able to actually get the unit insulated, get the unit to have windows, and make it your experience. We want to be able to provide an all-in-one bundle. We're focused on quality, so there is a certain emphasis with floor-to-ceiling windows, ceiling tray lighting, which you can see behind me, having the HVAC, pre-electrical wiring, and being able to take care of the entire process, which is very important in my opinion to be able to get these in the hands of homeowners. I mean, there are people that have done side projects, where they've built beautiful spaces. Don't get me wrong, but
Sure.
it is a tedious process. And if we want to get this out to the mass, we want to be able to streamline and make it so that it's very easy. You go online, you customize and design the space you want, you get an exact quote on what is it going to cost you. And by the time you include and consider the time spent, and it takes us a fraction of the time as it would to go and get that shed from Home Depot,
Right.
outfit it the way you want, everything else, when we can take care of the entire process and install it in a day. So there is a convenience factor to it outside of the quality factor. You pay for what you get.
Yeah. So, okay. So insulation's in, windows in, it says plug and play. I pulled this up for a particular reason, right? That means your electrical and everything's in. How does the homeowner plug and play? I mean, are you using low voltage? I mean, I'm probably asking things you're not going to tell me, but do you have a system? Have you guys come up with a system to simplify this process for the homeowner? So the only thing they really need to do is probably have an electrician on site, turn on the power and plug it down.
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. Happy to answer. So one, we've made sure that it's under 30 amps, which is critical for most jurisdictions where, you can easily plug in the unit. Outside of that, in terms of the electrical, we've made it so that our engineers have made it so that we are able to make it so that every module, even though it is separately shipped on site, is able to be plugged in very easily and connected by the general licensed contractor.
Yeah.
So in terms of the homeowner themselves, they can sit there and they can watch the unit get built right in their backyard, their dream golf simulator, their dream home office, their dream guest suite. And in terms of the installation side, we've partnered up with a company that is able to help us accelerate and scale the pre-wired outlets that have already been tested. And so on site, it's as easy as plugging in the modules for the contractor, and so that you don't have to hire an electrician separately out of this, which is a big bottleneck generally.
Yeah, no, definitely is. And with it, are you using quick connects or do you have any proprietary stuff built into the wall? So when they connect together, it's automatic.
Yes. So initially we were using, standard traditional methods to be able to even do pre-wired outlets.
Right.
And then we also experimented on quick connect. However, now we do have a proprietary partner that has designed a specific pre-wired outlet system so that it is very easy. It is generic for us. It has already been certified for us to be able to use without any worries.
So on site, we have these things called local building inspectors, right? They're going to come out and look at all of this. Walk us through your approval process. Is there a third-party inspection that you're using in the factory, or does the on-site inspector get to tear the local GC or homeowner to pieces because he wasn't able to, or she wasn't able to see everything?
So there's a few things there. One, the goal is absolutely to get factory certified, where we are hoping to be able to get our modules and our system certified so that it reduces the need for the bottlenecks that come in with having to get everything checked. Number two, specifically building for the fact that we understood that, different municipalities operate in different ways. And we wanted to make it so that it's as easy as possible for these inspectors to come and inspect it. So when it comes to the modules itself, we've made it so that they're removable. I mean, we've got a way to lock it in, But if an inspector were to come in and want to check behind the scenes, whether it's electrical, whether it's plumbing, they're able to lift the panel, remove it, inspect it, make sure everything is okay, and then put it back in place.
You say built to last. Let's talk about built to last. Talk to me about the material you're using. Is this wood framed? Is this steel framed? Walk us through a little bit about that. And does it meet all the codes from here to, Miami, Florida, or even down to the Keys, all the way up through, Washington State on the West Coast?
Sure. So in terms of the material that's being used, when we built our first unit, we used light gauge steel framing. And then for this unit, we've used light gauge steel for the roofing and the flooring, and then wood for the actual system of the walls. For the next version, we have experimented and already verified. We're going with sheet metal and a mix of different. We had used polystyrene for the insulation as well. And we're going with sheet metal as we scale up with this manufacturer to allow for us to be able to scale in volume. Ultimately, the issue that is very well known with wood is that it warps. It's pretty hard to work with when you're looking at scale. And considering all that in mind, in terms of the standardized modules, the nice thing about your question with meeting code, for example, with Miami specifically, or Florida that you had mentioned, there's hurricanes that can exist, or earthquakes when you're talking California. We wanted to make sure that, whether it's the windows, whether it's the insulation, we can easily meet code as necessary, meaning that the system, we are able to replace insulation if it requires a higher R value. We don't want to make it so that every unit is at the maximum R value, because then you're essentially charging every homeowner unnecessary money when they, for example, in Texas, it might be a lower R value where we are first delivering. So one of the key aspects for us as a startup is we want to make sure we get it right in one municipality, one state, before it growing too fast. So we are just focused on Texas initially. We have interested customers all over the US, and we will get to being able to scale there. But right now we want to make sure that we are building the system so that it can actually scale, so we can put in hurricane proof windows. We can add more insulation if it's an area with heavy winds.
Love it. So talk to me about the models that you guys are offering. So, basically it looks like it's one size, one model for different uses to help simplify the process of the product. I'm going to put them up on the screen here and share that. But is that kind of what you guys are doing? And you're showing people they can use in many different facets. Can I get a bathroom in this? Can I can I add additional units together to make it bigger? Tell me the game plan.
Sure. So that was, as of recent, we were only offering one unit. However, now with our system, we are able to build anything under 200 square feet. So if you want, a 10 by 12, 10 by 14, 10 by 16, 10 by 18, or even a 12 by 16, we are able to actually offer different sizes. So part of the consultation when you're designing your space, once we get an idea of what your backyard looks like, we're able to give recommendations and also make sure that we're meeting code. In most areas, it's under 200 square feet, but in some areas, it's under 120 square feet. So we wanted to make sure that we now are offering anything under 200 square feet, which classifies as a shed in most areas. And then as we continue to scale, just like you were asking, we've already built a modular bathroom. We are capable of doing it. But unfortunately, the second you bring in a bathroom into the space, it becomes an ADU, and you have to worry about plumbing, sewage, water. It adds a whole bottleneck to scale. And we want to make sure that when we're first integrating our system and putting it to use, we would rather start on a high-end unit that can be a backyard experience and then evolve to backyard homes.
All right, Rick. So what code do you fall under here? Let's talk about that, right? Are you having to meet all the ICC codes? Like, what are these being designed to on this? I know we talked a little bit about third party, but you're right? Once you add a bathroom, it's now an ADU. Does that truly make a difference?
It does.
And when you build it, or is it a manufacturing, or is it a design decision?
It makes a difference in a few ways. With our bathroom, we've already designed to meet IPC, International Plumbing Code. Yep. And in terms of specifics, yes, when you're getting a building permit, they are looking at the insulation, they are looking at electricals, they are looking at plumbing, the structural integrity. There's several factors that come in with inspection. Of course, if you get factory certified, you are able to bypass a lot of the headaches that come in with, installation on site.
Right.
That is a year-long process once you have a design freeze, and that is absolutely one of the goals that we aim to accomplish. But in terms of the short term, we are making sure that the system complies to code as necessary. When it comes to sheds, fortunately, there's a lot less regulations that come in play. But the second it's a ADU, now you got to work with the city to get sewage, plumbing hooked up if they don't have a septic, and you have to get a lot of checks and balances for very valid reasons. I mean, these things exist in place so that somebody's house isn't just falling, lighting up on fire at the end of the day. So you have to respect the code, and of course, there are some things in the code that could be modernized to today. But
Right.
I think overall it serves its purpose. I mean, I just hope that we can move faster over time so that we can deploy more homes.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of really the goal, to get more homes out to the public. Obviously, there's this huge housing need for that. What is your biggest bottleneck? Like, if you had a hurdle and you were to say to the audience that's watching, we got a lot of people looking at this right now. What would you say is the hardest thing for you to overcome, whether it's from a code issue, manufacturing issue, whatever the case is?
If you asked me a month or two ago, I would say that manufacturing would have been our biggest bottleneck, but we were able to uh, have a trusted partner that was willing to work with us even at lower volumes, and our engineering teams collaborated to make sure that we are able to deliver to customers even with outsourcing manufacturing. If you ask me today, the biggest hurdle to come by is scale for sure, because at the end of the day, these aren't small gadgets that are just being delivered via Amazon Prime. This is a living space to an extent, um, and it's spaces that people are going to use. So everything from the quality control, we pay a lot of attention to detail, and delivering these units as we continue to scale outside of Texas, especially, is what keeps me up at night. And there's a lot of challenges with making sure the delivery, the logistics, the customer success. And outside of that, following up with code every day is definitely a big bottleneck, because every day code is changing. I mean, I've got one of our team members that, one of their biggest priorities and focuses is just on understanding code and municipalities, and understanding the laws that are being passed. If you go do a simple Google search of ADU laws, I can guarantee you there's a new city every single day that's talking about it. So
Yeah,
and it's our job to stay up to date on it. So I would say that that's something that definitely keeps us up.
for sure. This image here, is that basically how they're coming packed? This
Yes.
bomb that you have created here, right? It's a blown up image of what you got.
Yes, this is give or take the system that we are going to be delivering. So you see the wall
Yep.
modules, and the best part about it is, you can remove these modules or add them as you want. So if you want these two windows on another side, we can do that just as easily by removing those two wall modules. And the idea in the long term is to be able to price by module rather than price by square footage. So if you
Right.
want windows that are floor to ceiling, we're able to price you based on those modules themselves and
Mhm.
tell you this is what it's going to cost. And that's something that we're very excited about.
On your website, you have a whole design our home thing here. Now, I started filling it out during the show here to kind of walk through, but there's questions obviously that you need to understand. Talk us through what this process looks like. And your website, clearly identifies, that there's a whole design process and then a build process. Dot dot dot. If somebody wants to work with you, what would they need to do?
Sure. So if somebody was interested in one of our spaces, you can go to our website, you can design your space, tell us, exactly what you want in there. Do you want electrical? Do you want lighting? You want AC? What type of finish do you want on the exterior or the interior? How many windows would you like in there? And we have a series of questions to get a better understanding of, what would you like? And outside of this, we ask for your address so that our permitting team can actually verify, make sure that we are able to install in your backyard. We ask you about HOA. We ask you, whether you want to get the unit permitted. And once we have an idea of exactly what you're going for, our team is able to come together with an idea of, okay, what is this going to cost? What is our timeline of delivery? And we set up a consultation call with the customer. Once we walk them through and we show them, this is what your unit's going to look like based on your preferences and customization. This is how much it's going to cost. And once the customer approves the design, we
Yeah.
ask for a $2,500 deposit. within 48 hours to get on the wait list. Once that is completed, we then reach out to the customer when we are beginning production with the remainder 40%. And then once we have produced the unit ready to manufacture, we ask for the remaining 50% prior to delivery. And then once we have that in place, we work with the customer to be able to set a date for delivery and installation. And the installation happens in 1 day.
In 1 day. I love that. That's what I think is so incredible on this with the installation of it. Now, and you mentioned earlier, there's several installation methods. You could put it on a concrete slab. You've made some legs for these that would make it movable, that you can adjust and level up based on the legs, right? Is that a patented thing that you guys have designed just for these units?
Not yet. We're still, so the last one, the last set of legs that we had built, each leg, we had gotten a structural engineer and we had gotten some tests essentially done on the system.
Yeah.
Each one could withstand 20,000 pounds, which was way over engineered because we wanted to see, we had to have a starting point. Yeah. And so we are still working on perfecting it and having a fine balance. They're very expensive to manufacture. So we are still working through it, but the long-term plan is to have IP around the system that we're building.
Sure. And I know a lot of you have some questions and comments out there. We're going to get to that in just a moment here. But I want to get through a couple of things that I think are super, super important. Just for our industry and, what we're starting to see and where it's going and ... We need more people like yourself, younger generation in the industry. And so many people are asking, how do we get the next generation of construction leaders into our space? Because you have an incredible young team. What are we missing here? When I say we, all of us people that are already out there doing manufacturing, building, the people that are watching this show, what are we missing to get the next generation excited to be in this space? And how would you suggest they get more people like yourself in their buildings and in their design team in this space?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think one of the biggest factors comes in with educating folks. And for me, before entering the space, I didn't really know, I didn't know you, I didn't know a lot of the folks. And I think a large component of it is education and being able to understand what construction entails, how to be able to, scale and deliver, and outside of that in manufacturing in general, I would like to broaden, outside of just housing. I think there's a big need in the US specifically to expand into manufacturing. We're seeing other countries that are leagues ahead. And I think finally now there is a big push for American dynamism and manufacturing. And so I would say it is partially on young people as well to be able to be curious, to broaden the horizons. I mean, I think for the longest time, software was the big thing. You go to school and you go and get into consulting or finance or software. I think that there wasn't as big of a push for manufacturing. And I do believe that it's going to be a massive market in this coming decade, and you will be missing out if you don't see all the benefits to it. And I do believe young people are starting to recognize that outside of software, there is a big push for hardware now. And, it's important to educate ourselves. Yeah. And I think for the people that have been there for a while, I think it's important for them to continue to share their knowledge. I follow a few people in the construction and modular space that do a great job of, and people like yourself, where you're able to bring on educated folks and also, younger folks. And I think it's a great mix to have as we continue to focus on the problems that need to be solved.
You calling me old, Ritwik?
Not at all. Not at all. You look like you're 25.
Yeah, I feel like it too. Right. 100%. Where did you get the funding? Was it grants? Do you have investors? Tell us a little bit about where you're going. And, if you need some help, here's a good time to put it out there too, that if you're talking to people.
Yeah. So, we raised some funding last year around this time, and it was all strategic investors. We had raised from one of the top real estate developers in the U.S. We had raised from an import exporter. We had raised from a prop tech fund. So we didn't raise from any VCs. We wanted to be very careful about the way that we go about raising, because one of the common mistakes that I've learned and seen in this industry specifically is, especially when a time when capital was free and investors were handing out capital, companies had raised 50 mil, 100 mil, 200 mil, billion, and it caught up when ultimately when you're raising that level of money, you also need to be executing at a level of scale where you can bring in that level of revenue. And we wanted to be very careful about that. We wanted to raise the bare minimum so that we could go build a system that that we can prove and show out. And then now looking at being able to raise additional capital to be able to actually go and deliver these units and get these in the backyards of homeowners. And I think as a founder, you're always looking to talk to investors. So investors, real estate developers, architects, anyone in the space, I always enjoy talking to.
Yeah, great. I mean, we can all learn from each other. There's a lot of knowledge out there that needs to be shared. Good lessons and bad lessons, right?
Absolutely.
How do we stay out of the bad side as often as possible? Tim Sims says, "I'm here." Tim is a global leader in this market as well, man. If you don't know Tim, you should. Awesome to see you, Tim. Thanks for joining us from YouTube. Andrew Seeley in the house. Great to see local superstars Krava on here. Welcome, Rit. Yeah, Andrew Seeley, man. G-Pod Americas, dude. That guy's doing some amazing stuff with off-grid living, luxury off-grid living. And, man, they're making these awesome portable battery pack things now that ship out everywhere, which is super, super cool.
Yeah.
Tom Reddy. What's up, Tom? Good to see you. Do you need permits to install any MEPs installed prior to delivery? And I know we touched on that a little bit, but go ahead and answer it some more.
Sure. So in terms of permits, specifically for these units, in most jurisdictions, we don't need a permit, especially not a building permit. In some areas, you may need an electrical permit. It depends on the jurisdiction. And we've made it so that, whether in those units, we give customers the option. So we provide them with a bare bones where they can have a licensed electrician come set it up and take care of the permitting side. Or we can essentially have it so that, they are able to, if they'd like to take the risk of having the electrical running, then that's on them. We don't obviously vouch for that. But we are able to use our system otherwise. And in most areas, if it's under 30 amps, you don't even need an electrical permit. So the building permit's the real bottleneck. And, us being able to avoid that helps out a lot.
Sure. You had a follow-up question too. Sounds like you are pre-wiring and plumbing. Do you need to have inspections done for the pre-wiring and plumbing?
Yes. So currently we do. And the long-term plan is to get factory certified so that we have everything already, they're able to see the installation manual. They're able to have the quality control checks in place so that, it's already vetted. And once it's done on site, then it doesn't require the inspections necessarily. And we'll have a sign off. Right now, yes, there will need to be a check on pre-wired if the jurisdiction requires an electrical permit, and down the road when we get into plumbing, there will need to be a plumbing permit as well.
Tom, thank you for the question. Moving on to Michael Legema. Hey, Michael, good to see you. He's in the steel business a long time. Thank you, Dave, for hosting a great topic. Yeah, I agree with you. It is a great topic. So good to see you, Michael. Here's the follow-up. Confirming these are flat pack kits, which they are, that each wall roof section needs assembled on site. These are not foldable units, correct?
Correct. These are not foldable units. They're all flat packed, and yes, each wall and roof section needs to be assembled. And we have a rail system, which actually is where the units get placed on.
Perfect. Thank you for the question. All right, let's go out to California. Diego Rivera in the house. What's up, my good friend Diego? Always appreciated a new approach. We need more young entrepreneurs in our industry. Enjoy Ritwik's energy. That's it. Well, he's young. He better have some energy. Good to see you, Diego. Thank you. Hey, no stranger to joining the show on occasion, Greg Ugaldi, chair of the National Association of Home Builders, past chair, I should say. I wish you were still the chair, man. I don't know the new chair that well yet. But we will. Anywho, Greg says, great product. Ritwik is making some great use suggestions, and the plug and play simplicity is fantastic. Greg Ugaldi, thank you for joining us on your busy schedule and days. Love it. All right, moving down the line here. Jennifer. Anybody know this lady? Jennifer Cooper. Who's Jennifer Cooper. All right, Ritwik Pavan. If the kids out there wanted to add this to their Christmas list, will it deliver on time? What's your pipeline backlog looking like? Great question.
Jennifer, let's talk after this call and maybe we can make it happen for you. Yes, so we are hoping to be able to deliver our earliest units by Christmas time. But right now it's looking at about a 3 to 6 month wait, roughly speaking, in terms of getting it out to homeowners' backyards.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer, for that comment and question as well. John Fay in the house. Hey, John, the Krava team is outstanding. Met them and truly impressed. So you're getting a little bit of a fan base there, which is awesome. Good job. Hey, that's half the battle is, winning over the people in the industry and getting the support. All right. Henry Mickelberg, no stranger to long-winded comments and questions, but they always have a point. Still a bit confused about the shed versus ADU thing, assuming the business intent is about providing lovely ADUs. What's your cunning plan to accommodate the various in-state by state ADU regs, and does this affect your manufacturing process?
This is a fantastic question, Henry. And what I will preface by saying is we keep our long-term goal in sight while making sure that we can realistically approach it with our short-term plans. So what I mean by that is in terms of a shed or an ADU, we classify as a shed. But if you actually were to ever walk by our unit, I welcome you to come to Austin to check out our unit. You would not feel like this is a shed. The system, the insulation, the electrical, all of these aspects, regardless if it's a shed, that we're building or the ADU, are going to be in place. The only difference for us specifically is adding the bathroom into the unit and focusing on plumbing. So what we are focused on in the short term is being able to deliver still a high-end product, which classifies as a shed under 200 square feet and doesn't have a bathroom or plumbing. And you can use it for a host of different use cases. You can see it on our website: podcast studio, guest bedroom, gym, yoga studio, home office being the number one use case. And the idea is, as regulations continue to ease, as we get factory certified and we, are able to get to cash flow positive, which is very important in this industry at this time, then we see ourselves evolving to the ADUs and being able to build bigger units that are, 500, 600 square feet in people's backyards, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, whether it's for your kids, whether it's for your parents, in-law suite, whatever that may be, a rental investment. And the long-term plan is to add that bathroom and use the same exact system to build a much larger space. The bottlenecks there is really scale, permitting, and government regulations, which we want to avoid for the short term.
So we have one more question and a comment, and then we got to wrap this up here. So Tom Reddy is the winner when it comes to comments and questions today. Good. You said you changed the walls from LGS to wood. Why?
This was more of a prototyping decision than a actual scalability decision. We started with light gauge steel. As everybody knows, light gauge steel is not very light. It's pretty heavy. And when we were prototyping, we wanted to make sure that we could do rapid prototyping, which is why we used wood. For the actual scalable units, we'll be using sheet metal.
Awesome. Appreciate the question and for helping out there. Oh, I actually got another comment. Let me just put up real quick. Joseph Accardi, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Would love to collaborate and support. So there you have. You guys can connect on LinkedIn. And then we got our good friend, best architect, or one of the best in the world, in my opinion, Peter D. Maria, digging Ritwik's energy and strategy to get all built without the cumbersome building permit process. And I would have to agree with that. So Ritwik, I mean, this is all awesome stuff. Is there anything that I didn't ask you, anything that I left out that you want to tell our audience?
I think you nailed the questions, Dave, and it was a pleasure being on with you, and appreciate you having me on. Outside of that, for all of those that hopped on the podcast, I'm always looking to talk to folks in the construction space. There's always something that we can learn. We come in hungry and curious, and there's various different paths that can be taken. And I tend to believe that any path that can be taken to help increase the supply of housing is a positive path. And so I welcome anybody and would love to chat.
Yeah, love it, love it. This Monday show's one you're going to want to have to check out too, Ritwik. Let me hop into that real quick because this is one we haven't done on the show yet. So this Monday, November 6th, we have Karen Vilas on from Fortress Protective Buildings. These hazard-resistant buildings are built off-site and have been field tested for fire, radiation, extreme weather, and more. They're turnkey modular structures, and they're built for blast resistance and maximum protection. And Lord knows the way the world's going right now, blast protection is probably pretty high on a lot of people's lists these days. So looking forward to having Karen on. So tune in on Monday because they are starting out and making some big progress in this industry. So super cool. And maybe we'll find out about some new materials that are good to use in our own structures. Because like Ritwik's doing, he's building buildings to last. And my guess is if it's blast protective, it can last. So Ritwik, thanks so much for coming on the show today, man.
Thank you for having me, Dave. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, definitely. And for the rest of you out there, thanks for joining us today. A big round of applause for my good friend over here, Ritwik. Thank you for joining us. Don't go anywhere. I'll come back to you after the end of the show. And for the rest of you out there, hey, make sure you thank these sponsors as well. I'm Dave Cooper. We'll see you Monday. What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.